On January 2nd, 1971, over 80,000 fans packed into a freezing, dimly lit Ibrox Park to watch the Old Firm derby. After a scoreless match, Celtic took a lead in the final minutes, followed almost immediately by a 90th-minute Rangers equalizer that sent the home crowd into a frenzy. At the final whistle, thousands began funneling out down the steep, narrow passage of Stairway 13. The crowd was so dense that fans were physically lifted off their feet by the momentum of the people behind them. Somewhere in the darkness, a single person stumbled. That slip triggered a massive chain reaction, pulling down row after row of spectators who had no room to stop. The crush left bodies stacked up to 6 feet deep. 66 people suffocated to death, including 5 schoolboys from a single town in Fife, while over 200 more were injured. This was Britain's deadliest football disaster to date, and it left the city of Glasgow searching for an explanation.
In the immediate chaos, before any formal investigation could begin, the press and the public circulated a rumor that blamed the fans for their own deaths. The narrative claimed that thousands of Rangers supporters had left early, heard the roar of the late equalizer, and surged back up the stairs, colliding head-on with the exiting crowd. This story relied on a common social instinct, the desire to attribute crowd tragedies to the irrational behavior of victims, rather than to the failure of the systems designed to contain them. The official fatal accident inquiry eventually dismantled the two-way collision theory, proving it was a total fabrication. Physical evidence confirmed that every single spectator on Stairway 13 was moving in the same downward direction when the crush occurred. The fans fell victim to compressive asphyxia. On a steep staircase, one-way crowd momentum multiplies into lethal downward pressure when forward movement stops. Because Stairway 13 was hemmed by heavy steel fences, victims had nowhere to escape. As rows of fans fell, relentless weight from above forced bodies to stack horizontally, creating pressure so great the human chest cannot draw breath. The physical architecture of the stairway weaponized the mass of the crowd, rendering the behavior of individual fans irrelevant to their survival. This specific infrastructure failure had been predictable for years. The 1971 disaster was the culmination of a known safety problem that the stadium's owners had repeatedly ignored. Stairway 13's decade-long history of failure: 2 deaths in 1961, 8 hospitalizations in 1967, and 26 injuries in 1969. In a subsequent civil trial, Sheriff James Irvine Smith delivered a landmark verdict that placed 100% of the fault and negligence squarely on Rangers Football Club. The sheriff found that the club's board had ignored safety issues in the hope they would simply go away, while actively deceiving the public into believing improvements had been made. Rangers FC played a calculated institutional gamble with human life, and on January 2, 1971, that gamble finally lost. Following the ruling, Rangers FC paid damages to the victims' families and completely rebuilt Ibrox into a modern, all-seater stadium. The tragedy also forced the UK government to intervene, commissioning Lord Wheatley to conduct a national investigation into stadium safety. Lord Wheatley concluded that the existing system of voluntary, unmonitored safety guidelines was dangerously inadequate. This report led to the 1973 Green Guide and the Safety of Sports Grounds Act in 1975. For the first time, stadium safety became a statutory requirement, establishing a legal framework for crowd control that spread worldwide. The 1971 disaster stands as a reminder that fatal crushes are the predictable result of bad design and unheeded warnings. It proved that safety must be legislated, because institutions left to their own devices will consistently prioritize convenience over human life.